Israel's acting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing a stern test of his political leadership. The Likud party is deciding whether he should remain as leader or be replaced by challenger Gideon Saar. It's important because next March Israel will face its third general election within the space of a year. And Netanyahu himself is fighting against charges of corruption. Daniel Bellamy reports.
This was the moment Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hurriedly left a rally of his Likud party as sirens rang out warning of a rocket attack. He'd been campaigning in the southern town of Ashkelon, just a few kilometres away from Gaza on Wednesday. The military said its Iron Dome missile defence system managed to intercept the rocket. Its reply came hours later, a series of airstrikes on the Gaza Strip. No casualties were reported. On Thursday, Netanyahu is also facing a dangerous political challenge from inside his own party. Tens of thousands of Likud members are voting for a new leader. And this man, the veteran politician Gideon Saar, could win. And after that, Israel will face its third national election in less than a year in March. Daniel Bellamy, Euronews.
Professor David Newman is a political analyst and professor of government and politics at Ben-Gurion University in Israel, and he joins us live now on the programme. Thanks very much for coming on to Euronews now. How serious a challenge is this to Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, in terms of the immediate impact, it's not serious because Netanyahu is going to win the challenge. But the fact that this is the first time in his 10 years as premiership there's been any serious challenge or election against him within the party is very significant in terms of Mr. Saar positioning himself as one of the most obvious people to take over from Netanyahu if and when that day arrives.
And what can you tell us about Netanyahu's rival, Gideon Saar?
Well, Gideon Saar actually has a bit of a history in the Likud. He's actually far to the right of Netanyahu, as ironical as that may sound, given the nature of Israel's right-wing governments today. He actually came into the Likud from an even more right-wing party called the Tchiyah, and he's probably even more of an ideologue than Netanyahu is. But that hasn't really come up very much because, of course, they're competing for the right-wing vote anyway. What has come up is that Saar has said, look, Netanyahu has been indicted by the police. He argues there are many people who are voting for the centrist party rather than the right-wing party precisely because of that. And that if he were to be head of the party, these people would come back and vote for the Likud in the third elections, then giving them more seats and the possibility of putting a government together. He also presents himself as Mr. Clean, that he doesn't have any major financial or other scandals behind him. And this is the sort of image he's putting forward.
And what impact is this primary likely to have on the race for up to the general election coming up in March?
Probably not a great deal. The impact it's going to have is the fact that it's actually taking place and that there is a challenge against Mr. Netanyahu. During his 10 years of premiership, Netanyahu has been very successful in pushing aside anyone he thinks is about to challenge him and avoiding any form of internal election. But Saar has taken a bit of time out of politics. He's come back. He's won a lot of votes from within the party, probably not enough to beat Netanyahu, but enough to position himself in a very major position for the future.
Professor David Newman from Ben-Gurion University, live from Beersheba. Thanks very much for joining us on Euronews Now.